This is a Hurricane Katrina documentary. So I haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure if you guys have. Apparently there's a lot of just crazy stuff that happened that wasn't really out there. Here. All right. Let's see. Okay. So again, I haven't seen it. So we're going to watch it.
In the summer of 2005, New Orleans is under attack.
You got scary. Put it
When in
that
category
way.
5?
You got real scary.
For the 100,000 people trapped by Hurricane Katrina, this will be a week from hell.
Honestly, sounded like cars were landing on the roof, and it went pitch black.
That's terrifying.
And then people started screaming.
Ferocious winds.
It went from a category 1 to a 5 in 24 hours. Oh my gosh. I mean, can you imagine like a tornado, but the wind's just constantly going?
In that situation,
not stopping?
we know very few people are going to make it.
I was stuck, and the next thought was, how do I not drown?
Ugh. Hi, Magic Ninja. Yeah.
The world is transfixed as disaster
Everything's just
unfolds.
underwater.
It feels like you're watching a third world country. You're like, this is not really happening.
And the most powerful government in the world is
Don't
frozen
breathe the water.
by
I
indecision.
feel like easier said than done.
The president, George W. Bush, was found utterly wanting.
I can't imagine like just be like have to climb on the roof of the house, especially if everything is flooded. And it's crazy if I just look at my, where I live and look at like where the water was on these houses, that'd be insane to me. That's so scary. And like, at what point do you climb on the roof when the wind's blowing too, blowing debris everywhere?
There could be thousands, if not tens of thousands of people stranded. I immediately thought that this could be worse than 9/11.
4th of July. Wait, it's been 20 years.
It's Independence Day in New Orleans. And thousands take to the streets in celebration. Tonight the skies are clear. But in this part of the world, summer also means hurricane season. And 1,000 miles from here, it's well underway.
I guess if it went from 1 to 5 in 24 hours, they don't really have much of a warning then to, leave.
Only 5 weeks into the hurricane season, we were already on the letter D. So that's the 4th tropical storm of the season.
Over the next month, hurricanes pound the Caribbean. Sweep through the Gulf of Mexico.
Sandy was bad. Irene.
And bombard the coast of America. When Jose hits Mexico on August the 22nd, it's the earliest the 10th storm has ever appeared.
So we knew things were going to ramp up further. We were sort of hanging on to our hats and thinking, what could happen next?
Wonder who names the
New Orleans has escaped
hurricane.
The worst of the weather, but 5,000 miles away, an ill wind is blowing.
I don't like the ill wind.
It's called the African Easterly Wave, and it happens where there's a difference in heat north to south across the western side of Africa, which allows a jet stream to develop.
Once it got over the North Atlantic, it got close to the Azore Islands.
I'd be scared to like live towards the beach.
And
That's the only
so it
fear I
gained more
have
and
is
more
hurricanes.
energy.
And it moved very quickly westwards towards the Bahamas.
The wind spun up faster and faster
So
as
west
the
where they
storm
choose
got
from?
higher and higher.
On the satellite picture, we saw more thunderstorms and then Tropical Storm Katrina was born.
Yeah, there's like so many storms and hurricanes. That's pretty a bad sign, especially it being so early in the hurricane season. 4 days.
Katrina is headed straight for America, but not New Orleans. Its first target is Miami, Florida. As it approaches, it becomes a Category 1 hurricane with 75-mile-per-hour winds.
Category 1's not, well, I can't
It's
say
the
anything,
mildest rating
really.
possible. But for British
manageable.
backpacker Jamie Trout, it feels anything but.
It was
That doesn't
the
look
biggest
like
storm I've seen.
manageable.
There was debris flying around. It was just a howling sound outside. A lot of the locals were telling
was
us
only
not
a
to worry.
one?
It's hurricane season. This happens all of the time. When we woke the next morning, there was quite a bit of damage. We were just about ready to move on anyway, so we jumped on a bus to New Orleans.
Katrina takes a completely different route,
Florida mentioned.
moving out to sea and downgrading to a tropical storm.
Downgrading.
Hurricane Katrina
So it,
moved
like, went
over
underneath?
Florida and came out the other side into the Gulf of Mexico. But
It's like
it
all of the
wandered a little
landline.
bit. And the consensus
Hi,
was
Gabriel.
the south of the US had dodged a bullet.
Yeah, wouldn't it like build up in the Gulf of Mexico?
It's Friday afternoon,
Flipping over the
and New
ocean.
Orleans is getting ready
For
for the
temperature,
weekend.
I guess. Maybe.
I was hosting a family reunion, and we had a good time. Nobody's mind is really focused on even the possibility of a storm.
Kind of looked like maybe hit Alabama. I didn't think it was going to hit us.
I can remember talking to a
Hi, Blue
coworker
Kirby.
who was worried about it and saying, you know, it's never going to come here.
We paint this picture of New Orleans and we say Mardi Gras and look good. We're told to take hurricanes seriously, but New Orleans, we don't really take them seriously because we're so used to having so many of them. I think we never questioned the reality of how bad it could get.
I was about to say, like, how I know they're under sea level. How much under sea level are they? That just baffles me. That's scary too. What does it look like when it's coming in? I guess like a massive
Over
storm front.
400 miles out at sea, Tropical Storm Katrina
Large
is
waves.
finding a new lease of life.
Sea surface
landline.
temperatures across the Gulf of Mexico were unbelievable. They'd peaked into the 30s.
3 and 4.
That's an immense amount of energy just
Yeah,
waiting
especially
to
for
be
normal
taken up
flooding, too.
by Katrina. The beast was getting bigger and bigger. Storm force winds extended 160 miles from its center. It was just gargantuan.
So creepy to look at it from like a
At the
space
Louisiana
level.
State University, hurricane specialist Ivor Van Heerden is following Katrina's every move.
It just grew dramatically, and so at one stage was close
8
to a
feet?
Category
That was more
5
than that.
storm. This hurricane then started to curve northwards
though.
until we saw it was coming into New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, can you really
And at that
run
time,
from
I
it
went
then?
to one of my coworkers and I said, "This is going to be bad. This is it. This is the big one."
Word reaches
Around
the
New
TV
Orleans? I have
stations,
no idea.
and weather updates
3 and
become
4?
increasingly alarming.
Yeah, we're in
You
the
watch
bowl,
the
though,
weather,
right?
man, and then you start hearing the reports, and all of a sudden it's a direct hit on New Orleans. Coming at you, and it's going to be bad.
We're watching on the news was talking about it, and the fear we saw in the newscasters' eyes that this was something that maybe we were not prepared for.
If the newscasters, weather people, are scared, you know it's bad.
Looking at us and saying people are going to die.
Yeah,
I would
especially when they
suggest you
say that.
guys leave.
It was frightening. It felt a little like being in a horror movie, waiting for the monster to jump out.
haven't sped up, but that much lightning consistently. 13 hours. And not like you can't all leave at the same time because it's just gonna be
and the mayor
jam-packed
of New
traffic.
Orleans turns to television
Like that.
to make a drastic announcement.
It's important to remember that New Orleans was founded as a city in 1718. And in 2005, there had never been a mandatory evacuation called for the city of New Orleans.
1.2 million people cram onto the highways.
It was very surreal.
I wonder if there's like could be a better way. Probably, I mean, obviously, probably not. To like almost carpool with these things, like get some buses ready to go, and then everyone get on a bus and just go. That way, it's less crowded on the highways and so forth. But I know that takes a lot of time, organization, you know, and everything else. But it's bad. That many people on the road, and you're
Getting
just
on
kind of
the
stuck.
highway,
So if it
we
does hit when
headed
you're on the
north
road,
to Mississippi,
want to save their stuff. I know that's the only problem
we still did
too.
not think that, you know, we're
One suitcase.
going to be gone for more than a few days.
We say pack for 3 days, we'll come back, and we went into the contraflow. I was on the phone for hours begging all my friends to leave because as of that time, no one wanted to leave.
Well, like I don't have enough time to
But
pack and
many
get
of the
in
100,000
the traffic.
still in the city would leave. If only they had the means.
There were a lot of people who were dear to me that stayed, who could not for whatever reason. They had no car, they had no way to get out.
And their buses would be
If
handy
you have to
this
drive
time.
for 6 or 7 hours, that's a certain amount of gas you have to spend. If you have to spend 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a hotel, is probably $1,000 in itself. It should be
true.
fairly easy for people not in New Orleans to understand why someone
you
on
have to stay
August
somewhere too,
29th
huh?
might say, I can't do it. I can't leave
sad.
right now.
I just wonder, like, if local shelters or something can open up to those like escaping. I don't know.
Katrina
It's like
is
all
over
impossible,
200
but-
miles out, and her winds have picked up to 175 miles per hour.
Oh. Back-to-back
The
hurricanes, Milton
hurricane
and
is
Helene.
expected to hit the city's eastern wetlands first, and in the suburbs just beyond, fisherman Peter Garriga is busy preparing.
Those are bad hurricanes.
Took my smaller boat, 21-foot boat, and I kind of brought it in on the trail and tied it on the side of the house that if the water came up, it could float and it'd be right there by the house.
While Peter and his wife secure their home, his daughter Christina rounds up the family.
Where we live, when a big
like
storm's
wooden
coming,
things in
it's
the
kind of the
windows.
same procedure every time. I
Board
went
up
to
the
pick
windows?
up my grandma. She was running around her house like a busy little bee, vacuum sealing what she could, putting it on top shelves, and then brought her back home. Kind of settled in for the evening.
You know, all that was preparation, you know, thinking about, you know, what could be the worst, but the worst was a lot worse than what you thought.
Just with already raining. Just like this
The
anticipation.
streets within the city were pretty empty and almost barren. And those who could not get out were lining up outside the Superdome.
The Superdome football stadium is a refuge of last resort.
It makes
The
sense.
Superdome was this kind of fortress of sorts that was strong enough to
Sit in the chairs, I guess.
withstand the highest winds and where people would be safe.
Alongside 10,000 locals seeking shelter is a British backpacker fresh off the bus from Miami.
As backpackers, we didn't really have any options, so the advice was to go to the Superdome.
Oh.
There was a huge
We had the
military
military.
presence, there were helicopters overhead, emergency vehicles everywhere, and you could just get a sense that this was a city in absolute crisis. The wind was starting to pick up, and the clouds were coming in very grey, and you just got a sense that something huge was happening. And it
What's
was
it taking so long to get
quite
in?
a sobering moment, actually, you know, like just suddenly realizing that this was actually way more serious than we'd initially thought.
That is so full. You gotta figure out how to sleep in there, unless you just stay up the whole time, I guess. 30 minutes. Yeah, at night. It's even worse.
As night falls, the leading edge of the 400-mile-wide hurricane is bearing down on New Orleans. Jamal Raymond has decided to sit out the storm in his 5-story block of flats on the eastern edge of the city.
Skies got like black, you know, start getting dark. It start like raining kind of hard.
Kind of
so
hard?
I see about 11 o'clock. That's when she came through.
Oh, I hate night storms. Hate them. Yeah.
That's how it sounds, like a ghost or something.
Oh. So creepy.
The rain pouring up in the air, and it's not raining down here. The rain, it was raining up. I mean, raining. Like pouring going in the sky.
It started getting real rocky.
It's like the wind was going sideways, so it just didn't look like it was hitting the
wind
ground, I
that was,
guess.
Rocking the house, and you could tell something big was happening.
Fisherman Peter Garika and his family also have a front row seat for Katrina's arrival.
Yeah, I had my wife, I had my daughter came in, we had my mother. You know, we just was sitting there waiting and hoping for the best, you know?
You could feel the weather outside picking up. And
Imagine, like,
being half
pressure.
Italian on both sides. The whole family's Catholic, and you had a religious altar on top of one of the dressers, and with little statuettes and whatnot. And as the night went on, there was a Blessed Mother figurine on the altar that the vibration was so bad, it just kept turning around. And my grandma would go over there and turn it the right way, and it would turn back around. And that kind of set an omen of be on edge, be aware.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a little creepy. Be a little worried about that.
8 miles across town,
When it's hit your area, it's still
journalist Jarvis
horrifyingly
DeBerry is
strong.
hunkering down to ride out the storm at the
What category
offices
was it when
of
it
the
hit
local
near you?
newspaper.
Cheerlops.
I heard this kind of like
walk in and
a high
fully
kind
charged.
of whistling
True.
sound. Somebody rushed into the part of the building where I was and said a window has just blown out. If a window is blown out of this building, then game is on.
That's when the lights went out.
Oh, I hate that. Is the blackout? Oh, I hate it so much. It's the creepiest
Sound
thing.
like a freight train outside, you know? Lightning and everything. You ever seen
Tropical
Blue's
storm at
Green
that point?
Lightning?
Oh, okay.
It was scary, you know? You got scary. Put it that way. You got real
Yeah,
scary.
because you can't do anything other than hope for the best, I guess. Arkansas border, then the Gulf. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh.
As dawn breaks, Katrina envelops the city.
This is where we saw the highest wind speeds.
Right. And all we can do
with
now is just
sustained
gotta
winds of 133
survive.
miles an hour.
175.
I would be
just
hanging onto my hats. I would be running for the hills. This was a massive storm, and it was going to annihilate the area.
To be safe in one of those like tall brick buildings in the middle of them, maybe. I don't know. I've never been in like a massive hurricane like this. I'm not on the Gulf.
Superdome, the city's largest hurricane-proof building, is sheltering 15,000 people, including British backpacker Jamie Trout.
Over time, the winds
British
build up
backpacker?
and build up and build up. And then I remember hearing a huge crash, like a huge sound.
Oh.
And it honestly sounded like cars were landing on the roof. and they started getting louder and louder, like boom, 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 boom.
Oh.
A hole appeared in the roof, and water came in, and this howling, whistling sound came in.
Oh.
Right around then, the electricity went off, so the lights and the air conditioning went off, and it went pitch black.
Oh, you
People
cannot
started screaming.
see.
And as our eyes readjusted, we realized that everyone was just running up the stand of the seats and getting underneath into the walkways beneath the stadium. Everyone was really in shock, panicking.
Yeah, I mean, if you go into this building thinking like it's the most hurricane-proof building and you think you're safe, and then all of a sudden like the roof is, flooding in. Yeah, that's a little terrifying, especially when you're in a dome and the lights go out. It is pitch black. And with all that body heat, when the air goes out, and then just like feeling people everywhere, but you can't see where you're going. Who's recording these?
As 130-mile-per-hour winds blast New Orleans, Katrina has another surprise in store.
Another?
Forming within the hurricane are micro-tornadoes.
These micro-scale tornadoes can have winds in excess of 200 miles an hour. So that is even more destructive, and that can annihilate homes, houses, anything in its path.
Peter Garika is sheltering in his home in the eastern suburbs, along with his wife, mother, and daughter.
The whole thing in a nutshell about getting prepared is you cannot prepare for tornadoes.
My dad didn't tell us all of what he was seeing. And for the most part, I'm glad, because it would have made things even scarier.
The house was starting to get...
Now, what if you get hit by the tornado and your house is destroyed, but yet the hurricane's still going? What do you do?
Well, you could see the chandeliers move,
We moved into his bedroom in the middle of the house. The power had gone out by that time.
I could see daylight through the wall. And that was from it shaking and rocking.
And when I looked to like my left towards the driveway side, you could see there was a gap. There was something missing. I was watching things fly out the attic, like blankets, pictures of my cousins, all kind of random things.
And this is right about the time when the tornado started doing its thing.
You could feel the pressure just changed.
It sounded like cattle running across the roof. You just heard this rumbling like hoofs running across the roof. And I guess what it was is all the shingles and the sheeting and all
coming
just
off.
floating on the roof.
I guess debris hitting it
The
too.
sounds Peter can hear signal the rapid approach of a
Here's where these people are catching this video at.
And that's when everything just went.
One minute you're looking at ceiling, the next minute you're looking at sky. And then things start falling apart.
It felt like the floor lifted up and then came back down. And then the carpet like went out from underneath me. The wall I was staring at charged at me.
What?
I fell backwards, and that was it. I thought I was dead.
What?
Hurricane Katrina is tearing through New Orleans, where over
dislodged from his
100,000 people
anchors? Oh, okay.
are sheltering from winds of over 130 miles per hour.
I'm surprised she's still alive.
You're just waiting, hoping that the stadium's going to hold. Once we found refuge underneath the seats in the stadium, you start thinking about family and are you going to get out of here safe? It was just
I'm just scared that the
feeling
thing would
completely
collapse.
helpless. You're totally out. Nothing is in your control. You start worrying about what's happening to other people around the city.
At this point, nobody knows how many have died from collapsed buildings and falling debris.
And that's why you don't want to get hit by either.
But
It's
as
all the
the
debris.
hurricane heads towards the city, it not only brings destructive winds, it carries with it a wall of water called a storm surge.
This is where water is almost picked up and thrown towards the coast. This happens because the hurricane is a huge area of low pressure. Low pressure means less air. The weight of the air is less. basically lifting up the water and almost dumping it on land.
Imagine like massive waves or something, maybe.
Oh my God, look at that. That's the storm surge coming in. Look at the storm surge coming in.
That's when you need to leave. Okay.
Katrina carries a 25-foot wall of water toward the city.
Like, that's
First
probably
in its
like
crosshairs are the eastern
the
suburbs.
water the worst part,
where Peter
like
Garrica's
flooding. I'm
house
assuming. Well,
has just
obviously, I
been
guess that would be the
demolished
worst part,
by
huh?
a 200-mile-per-hour tornado.
My wife was there. We had my mother, and myself. And I didn't see my daughter because my daughter was still on the floor of the house, and she might have been knocked out. I don't know.
Before Peter can look for his missing daughter, Christina, the storm surge strikes.
What was that?
It went down quick. The water was coming up so fast, it was like somebody just filling up a bathtub with a fire hose.
Just 20 feet away, Christina is lying unconscious.
The next thing I knew, I was underwater and stuck to something.
Oh, that's terrifying. Imagine
Pants
getting
had
hit by a
gotten
wall.
hung up on the fence that was out front.
Where is she? So the house is basically came off, hit her, knocked her out, and now she's underwater. Poor thing.
And the water was rapidly rising. Once I realized that it was just my pants, I kind of ripped and got out of that. And the next thought was, how do I not drown?
Whatever you gotta do, just take them off.
I couldn't
Who cares
really
at that
breathe
point?
well. It
Hi,
was
Ryan.
so cold, and then for whatever reason, anytime I tried to take a breath, it was like if I was in a corset or something made of nails. And I had no idea what was going on. It was just like a sea of stuff and water. My bedroom door happened to be nearby, but even on the door, it was hard to hang on.
The rest of Christina's family is in the garden, desperately looking for safe haven.
By that time, the water had got over the fence. I get to the tree and I find a cable there, and I tie that around my mama so she don't just drift off in case she can't hold on. And just trying to figure out, the water's coming up rapidly, we're gonna run out of tree. Well, it wasn't a big tree to start off with. At that point, I'm talking to my mom, and I notice my wife's gone. My wife disappeared. She drifted off. She couldn't hold on anymore.
No.
And that's when I seen my daughter and the dog.
I heard my dad scream my mom's name. And so I swam over to him and got in the tree.
So we had my mother, myself, my daughter, and the dog in a tree, and wondered where my wife's at.
By that point in time, my mom was already out of sight. So I was afraid to ask, was she okay?
As a wall of seawater charges west, the storm surge's next victim is the city itself and its centuries-old flood defenses.
They haven't said that they haven't found her or that she passed away.
A year before Katrina hit,
It'd be a miracle if she
New
lives.
Orleans was in the midst of a long-term upgrade of its levee system.
If she's not in the interview, that's
If you come to
also
New
a
Orleans,
concern.
you will see these huge levees holding the river in because the Mississippi River naturally floods every year.
Right.
Since the early 18th century, engineers in New Orleans built what are known as levees, huge brick or concrete walls to channel the river and hundreds of canals safely through the city.
New Orleans is so low topographically. The
Levees fail.
downside of that, though, is that when those levees fail, then the whole city is at risk of going under.
In the early 21st century, many of the oldest levees were strengthened, but hurricanes had also been getting stronger and more frequent. And Ivor Van Heerden was
Almost
concerned.
instantly.
I put a lot of effort into putting a team together to develop storm surge models. Because of those, I knew just how vulnerable New Orleans was to flooding.
They didn't upkeep them.
Ivor's computer
Wouldn't that be very
simulations warned
important
that levee bridges
for the
to
flooding
either
of the river?
Mississippi River or Lake Pontchartrain to the north
That's so long.
could cause billions of additional gallons of water to descend upon the low-lying city.
You can't even see the end of the bridge.
I hate to say this, but from way out, I had this real dread, this feeling in the bottom of my stomach that we were going to see a catastrophe.
In the north of the city, Fire Captain Joe Fincher is keeping watch over the levees of Lake Pontchartrain.
He has to say, hey, they're still good. They're still good. We're good.
The whole area is filling up with water, and it was flooded. And my firefighter looked over, and
Hi,
he
Chica.
said, Captain, it looks like the levees broke over there. And I looked, and my heart sank. I said, man, I think you're right. I saw it. And at first, it was like a small breach, I would say 6 to 10 feet wide. And the water was just pouring in like, I don't know how to describe it.
Within an hour,
Are they embezzling
the
money
force
meant
of
for the
water rushing out
flood
of the lake has cut an enormous hole in the
measures?
flood
Can't read.
defenses.
Can't talk.
The landscape I saw was
Wonderful.
just devastation. By that time,
say
it was
sarcastically.
a 200-foot breach in the levee, and we couldn't drive because there was water surrounding us. The water at that point was 10 feet deep in places.
You'd have to have a boat.
As soon as I saw the levee break, I immediately
That's
thought
it.
that this could be worse than 9/11.
The levees
It was
break is going to get
sobering.
weaker and weaker and
That
keep
there
breaking.
could be, thousands, if not tens of thousands of people stranded.
That's Katrina.
What Joe Fincher is seeing is happening at multiple locations across the city. And floodwaters are beginning to engulf entire houses.
You had these breaches later in mid-morning, the 17th Street Canal, where the wall just literally slid. It slid about 60 to 70 feet. The whole section of the wall slid and fell down. Imagine you wake up to use the bathroom and you
Have a
step
boat.
out of your bed and your feet get wet. And you lick the water and it's salty. And your kid's in there and they're sleeping and it's dark and there's no electricity. You can't go outside, the water's rising. So what do? You try and get in your attic. So imagine the panic.
Yeah, what if
It looked like the apocalypse, it really did.
you have a window out of your attic so you can climb to the roof if necessary, I suppose. Come on, Doggle.
"14 hours after Katrina began its assault on the city,
It's a long time.
the hurricane finally passes.
That's the Super Bowl.
Katrina lost a lot of energy as it
The
made
dome.
landfall. Hurricanes
Okay,
need the
tired.
warm seas to fuel them. And ultimately, it just disintegrates. It rains out.
Oh yeah, Skylar would be
It's not
bad.
really till the afternoon where the winds slowly lose the worst of their sting.
The winds have died,
Oh, that classic
but
car.
floodwaters have not dropped. 20 miles away, British reporter Kami Nzerum is trying to find a way into the city on one of the few remaining roads.
So we've just got to the
Hi,
community of
Moto.
Covington,
Hi.
which is just north of New Orleans across the lake.
How long did it take for the waters to recede?
We slowly made our way around the edge of
Too
Lake
long.
Pontchartrain on the other side of New Orleans. And honestly, it looked like a nuclear bomb had gone off. The place was flattened.
Didn't really?
We began to hear stories that entire districts were lying underwater. That in some cases, houses were completely submerged.
I imagine just losing
There were
everything.
entire parishes that had been completely devastated. Bodies were floating in the water in the lower Ninth Ward.
That's so sad. tornado road.
In
We
the
watched the
west of the
Tuscaloosa
city,
one.
where flooding is less severe, Jarvis
And
DeBerry
another one from that
decides
same
to
day.
leave the shelter of his office and head east
Hackleburg?
to see the disaster with his own eyes.
43 days to completely pump out New Orleans.
We got out on the interstate and it's elevated so we can look down on the city. We see people in real trouble and see people in real distress. See people that to this day, I don't know if they survived or not. We went as far as we could go. I remember in particular someone holding on to this big water cooler, and he has his arms thrown across there to try to keep his head above water.
Oh.
I never seen people
I mean, whatever you can
that I'm
grab.
looking at who were at risk of drowning.
Whatever floats, grab it, I guess.
And there was a sense of helplessness. I couldn't help them. You know, I couldn't rescue anyone. I just never seen anything like that before in my life.
In the Ninth Ward, the reason for the extreme floodwaters is clear. The industrial canal has burst, and water is still pouring in.
2 big sections failed. One so badly that a barge floated out from the canal over the breach and landed on a house. This should never have happened.
The predictions seemed to me to have been true. They were in real life-threatening danger.
Yeah, that's also the problem. If you don't have anything, and you only have a cooler to hold on to, you're gonna have fatigue after that because you're gonna be gripping that thing. So you got to find something else to, you know, some sort of landing to get on.
It's 2 hours since Hurricane Katrina's winds died away, and tens of thousands are still trapped. News is beginning to filter out of the city, and the major networks are quick to react to the horror.
Here in Slidell, 300 are estimated to have died, mainly in their attics, trying to escape the rising waters. Beachfront homes are matchwood, roofs and boats enmeshed in the wreckage.
I guess you never know. Like, if you go to the attic, you think that's the high point of your house. But when the water starts coming up, you can't go anywhere at all unless you can hold your breath in long enough to swim down and find your way out. But that's near impossible. And also the wind, yeah. Because I know, like, I don't have an attic. But, like, in my old place, the attic had a window on the outside. So, like, if need be, if it flooded with the old house I had, I could bust out that window and then get on the roof that way. So, can you imagine just being in the dark attic and just having that happen? Yeah, without lights. Exactly.
For those lucky enough
Just
to
pitch black
evacuate
and
before
you don't
Katrina
know
hit,
anything.
this is their first sight of a disaster taking place back home.
We got to the hotel in Dallas. We're watching on the news the destruction in real time.
Yeah, the
it's
house could
surreal that you're
collapse,
watching the place you grew up in on television. It feels like you're watching a third world country. You're like, this is not really happening. And at that point, I think it hit my parents that there is no way that our house survived that.
Well, I think I'm glad we left.
But also, you feel guilty because you made it out and others haven't.
Imagine like people
In the eastern suburb,
if this is your house right here, completely submerged, you have to stay. Like if let's say if like the people that went to Dallas, like how long are they gonna have to stay there? It's gonna be so much money.
fisherman Peter
Unless they have
Garika
family elsewhere to
spent
stay
the
with.
past
That's the only
7 hours
thing.
clinging to a tree alongside his mother and daughter.
Oh, we're back here. Okay.
I lost my wife, and all I was thinking about is I hope she grabbed onto something on the way out. And I could see that the little boat that was on the side of the house was still floating. So I swam off. When I swam off, my mom was like, "You're gonna die if you swim off." I said, "Well, if I'm gonna die trying," you know?
My grandma the whole time just kept telling him all kind of, oh, you're gonna die. But once he got to the little boat and he was getting it, you know, where I could see him getting to us, it was just a wave of relief.
So after I got them secure, get up on the rigging of the boat, because they had rigging that was about, maybe put you about 13 feet above ground level, and look around and see if I could spot my wife.
My dad did his best to figure out where my mom was.
I agree,
And
of course. So it's
I remember
crazy.
my grandma and I just praying and hoping that she was okay.
I was howling for her. And that's when I caught her. And I could see her with a stick with a piece of plastic on it, waving it, trying to get my attention.
Peter's wife has been washed a block away and is clinging to debris from the destroyed
She
homes.
survived.
She was weak, and I was getting weak by that time.
All things considered, my mom was in better condition than the rest of us, really.
You know, it's a miracle, really, that I could get in there and get her out of there. Hey, what do you call it? Guardian angels, I guess.
1,000 miles away in Washington, Katrina is designated a national disaster. The job of responding falls to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, known as FEMA. As for the White House, President Bush is on holiday at his ranch in Texas, where allegedly his staff don't want to burden him with details on the situation.
Get the National Guard out there. or
George
something?
W. Bush
Who?
was
We need
grappling
everything.
with wars overseas that were going really, really badly. The
Oh.
last thing he needed was a massive
That's
domestic crisis.
Are there any bases near New Orleans?
New Orleans is on its own.
Yeah. Regardless, it happened. They need to know.
And it's left to the local emergency services to improvise a rescue plan.
Oh, dog.
Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Naval
but
bases?
if you hear of a house burning or someone trapped, it's sort of like instinctive to go for it and go help someone, you know? So that's pretty much the mentality of the whole fire department from what I saw. We knew that there would be, you know, rescues that we had to make.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
We couldn't access it through fire trucks because you couldn't get around. We had a couple of guys that were really good with boats and all. We saw a boat in the backyard of someone. They were able to hotwire the boat and get it into operation.
Oh, nice.
We sort of knew to do a grid search to figure out, you know, what places needed to be searched first. So we would go into a neighborhood and it was pretty silent.
If you see that window open, there's got to be someone
We would turn the
in that
boat
area.
motor off and yell,
Or in that attic
make some
space.
noise, so we would know where they were.
A fire crew hears a cry coming from an almost fully submerged house.
A couple of blocks from us, they found somebody yelling out of a bathroom window. And it was a guy that was standing on his toes, apparently, on top of the bathtub, with his head barely above the water.
Ugh.
He wouldn't have made it much longer. So they were able to pull him out. And over the next few hours, we had probably say 30, 40, 50 people
Dang,
We
can you
just
imagine if they
tried to
weren't
do
doing that?
as much as we could. We realized that we were fighting against time. So, yeah, it was sobering.
Dang. I think I'm gonna go into like a
8
school or
Coast Guard
something.
helicopters arrived from across Louisiana and its neighboring states.
It was a big mix. People on roofs, people on second floor landings. Some people were stuck in, single stories.
The choppers begin round-the-clock sorties, plucking people from rooftops and taking them to the Superdome.
It was impressive. All the first responders from the Coast Guard, they were great.
The first few thousand to be rescued joined the growing crowd at the giant stadium.
Looks pretty dry right there, though. I mean, the people are walking around on the ground. I mean, that's
There was
good.
something like another 20,000 people that arrived.
At least
So
like
it was
lamb's
kind
land.
of the first
Shadow.
realization that yes, the hurricane had passed, but that we were still very
that's the
much
parking garage?
in the depths of
Oh.
a crisis.
Gotcha.
As the sun sets
say,
over
like
the
how?
Superdome, across the ruined city, tens of thousands more face another night stranded in their homes and huddled in attics. It's Tuesday morning, and journalist Jarvis DeBerry wakes at his desk at the New Orleans local newspaper.
One person rushes into the room and tells the photographer, grab your camera, you gotta see this. So we all get up and we all rush to the window. And there is this steady rising of water that seems inexplicable.
Incredibly, the west of the city that escaped yesterday's storm surge is now flooding.
As far as we could see, it wasn't a landscape anymore, it was a waterscape. It was a real mystery to people that they could be flooding after the storm had gone.
And all of a sudden, this water's rising so fast. Well, that means that we've got breaches. We've got serious breaches.
Ivor Van Heerden takes to the air to look for the source of the new flooding.
And so I slowly but surely went from levee breach to levee breach. And what we realized very, very early on was that most of the levees we saw were catastrophic structural failures. The levees failed in mass, just hundreds and hundreds of feet. They just fell over. The waves chewed up the levee banks and boom, they went down. So if you look at New Orleans, there are about 350 miles of levee.
That's a
Over
lot.
half of those failed. I mean, that just gives you a scale of the
50
event.
miles?
In the lower Ninth Ward, when we flew over, the water had got above the eaves. It probably flooded the houses. And in that situation, we know very few people are going to make it. I saw 2 young children floating face down in the water. And I'm sorry.
You never forget
I
that.
eventually met their mother. And she told me that they were divorced and they were with their father. But that's a memory. It's very hard for me. I'm sorry.
That's something you can't erase from your mind either, unfortunately. He has every right to be emotional about that, no matter how long it's been.
We were watching the rise in the water, and we realized that we were fighting against time.
Government help is slow coming. But local Louisianans aren't waiting for Washington.
I saw an armada of boats.
Oh, like
There
what
were
are they
40
called?
or 50
like
boats
boat
coming my
things.
way. It was a beautiful
Or at least that one
sight.
was.
Turned out to be the Cajun Navy. So that
Cajun
was
Navy?
beautiful.
From across the state,
Hover
private
boats,
boat
thank you.
owners
Are
have
they hover
answered New Orleans' cry for help. They're quickly given the nickname, the Cajun Navy.
Airboats.
It was really down to local people, local volunteers, neighbors, friends helping each other out. The Cajun Navy taking it upon themselves to find out who in their neighborhood was most needy
And they are the
and trying
closest
to
ones,
get them
so
to some kind of safety.
you can do it.
So we had a huge operation. We were getting hundreds of people out that day. They were movers and shakers.
The actual thing
There's
now?
a saying with the Marines. It says, improvise, adapt, overcome, you know?
I wonder how they all got together at the same time, you know, to come and help. I can't imagine like how like
As
any signal
survivors
is
escape
to
the
communicate.
rising waters, thousands more head for the sanctuary of the Superdome, as well as the nearby convention center. But their relief is short-lived.
Was it really organized?
Outside the convention center where people are gathering organically, there is nothing. There's no food, there's no water, there's no real shelter. And even though there were
Think about
individuals being rescued from high water,
I didn't like you're just thinking about getting out and to get to safety. You're not really thinking about after the fact how long you're gonna be out there with all those other people, and you're gonna need food and water. Oh,
there is
It's like a
not, at least
afterthought
in those
or
first
afterthought.
couple of days, any large-scale coordinated operation to get people out of the city, which is what's most desperately needed.
especially being so hot and being dehydrated. Unity, exactly.
In the wake of Hurricane Katrina, thousands are still stranded in New Orleans. In the worst-hit eastern district of the city, Jamal and his mother have run out of drinking water.
My mama didn't want to leave. She was going to stay. And I said, Mama, you got to get out of here. We got to get you out of here.
Jamal decides to attempt a 2-mile swim to the Superdome, with his mother perched on a makeshift raft.
As you go out, the water was like up to my chin, like. It was like, you know, I had to like swim. I bounce up and down in it. We managed to get to the bridge. You can go up the bridge and you get over and get to the Superdome.
After a couple of hours, Jamal and his mother make it.
She a tough cookie, you know. She's still living. She's 91 years old.
Dang.
But when we got to the Superdome, you know, it was crazy. It was chaos. You wouldn't want to go in there. It was filthy.
The Superdome protected 15,000 people during the storm, but now that number has swollen to 25,000.
You couldn't use a bathroom. It was like, man, it was like living like
I think
animals.
about that too.
People fighting, screaming, and hollering, and talking crazy.
And we got
It
no
was
food
crazy.
and water. I feel like you start losing sanity.
As fatigue sets in and tempers fray, troubling rumors begin to circulate in the crowd.
And I had
We heard that there were people who were swimming to the Superdome who were attacked by crocodiles. We'd heard that people had been swimming to the Superdome and were electrocuted on the way. We'd heard that there had been people stabbed in the Superdome and that bodies were being kept in the basement. It felt like at the time that there were just the most horrendous things happening, but I had no way of verifying these rumors and whether these things actually did happen.
Like, why? Why would
Not
you?
all rumors are
I
emanating
guess
from the
annoyance,
Superdome.
maybe. But still.
The media jumps on the disaster and paints a picture of lawlessness throughout the city.
One of the most galling things for me as a black journalist covering Katrina was seeing the way that black communities in desperate need were portrayed as brigands and villains and looters.
People were human beings trying to survive
Yeah,
a
if you're
shockingly
trying to survive. I mean, that's a little
desperate
different.
type of circumstance. There was
So don't hoard it for
nothing
yourself. Trying to do
that one could say about people in New Orleans during the week of Katrina that people would not believe. You could have said anything and everything, and people did. They were raping babies in the Superdome. They were slitting people's throats. They were doing they were shooting down helicopters.
Huh?
I
What?
didn't really see any looting going on. I've seen a lot of dead bodies, and I saved a few people.
Despite the numerous reports of violence, very few have been proven.
It was fantastical,
You make stuff up?
slanderous,
I hope that's not
racist.
The vast majority were completely good people that were trying to look out for
working
each other.
together, really. Like, weird that would be happening, but
After 3 days, President George Bush flies home from his holiday.
crime ridden, but that's a story for another day.
En route,
Anywhere is gonna be crime
Air Force
ridden.
One circles over the stricken city.
I think if he had come to the city and touched down, not just flown over the city, but actually touched down, he would have had a better idea. It's the kind of thing you can't experience secondhand.
I wonder if they're just like terrified of coming down. I don't know. Like, where would you
It was chaos when we drove
land?
in.
And then how would you even get to the
that had been
city?
set up under motorway flyovers, rather than a consistent and coordinated governmental response. There wasn't enough food, there wasn't enough bedding. It was down to well-meaning local shopkeepers, largely, providing water. The official response was
Security risk would
found
be pretty high.
terribly wanting.
As the crisis moves into a 4th day, there's some good news for Jamie. Local state troopers are gathering stranded foreigners for evacuation.
We had made contact with one of the senior officers who'd said that because we were international travelers, we were allowed to leave the Superdome. We obviously jumped at the opportunity to get out of there, and it's only in the years subsequently that I've reflected on that and wondered what were the reasons, the motives for allowing us international travelers out, where the local people were actually told and made to stay there in the Superdome.
With growing outrage at the government's slow response, President Bush finally triggers a large-scale military intervention and sends in the 82nd Airborne Division. But at the Superdome, the presence of armed soldiers threatens to escalate an already tense situation.
Looked like somebody had popped a firecracker
They
or
want to
something.
land, and they said no.
I thought I was gonna die then because the soldiers, they took it, cocked their guns back and say, get down, motherfuckers, we're gonna shoot all y'all.
Armed soldiers, but no assistance. Huh?
In New Orleans, the cavalry has finally arrived. But not everyone is happy at the presence of armed peacekeepers.
So now you have the National
I would
Guard
want to be out
coming
and not...
into town,
Huh?
and they had to have heard all of these things. You know, the depravity of the people who were left in the city. And so to the people of New Orleans, it was scary.
In command of the troops is charismatic General Russell Honoré.
Russell Honoré swaggered into town and really took charge of the situation.
Put those damn weapons down! Not gonna play you again, goddammit!
Oh.
Get those goddamn weapons down!
Thank you.
His specific command was put those goddamn weapons down.
I like that guy.
Like, these are people. These are not your enemy combatants.
Right, I mean, these
Put
people...
those weapons down, damn.
I like that guy. I like that guy. Because you have to think, these people have gone through, you know, trying to survive, losing everything they have, you know, trying to find a place to, you know, pee, trying to find food, trying to find water. They're just trying to survive. You might get a little crazy, you know, if you're starving, you're, you know, dehydrated, you're losing your mind just about. Yeah, people might act a little crazy. Of course, you don't want to go too far, obviously. But having military there with these big guns out, yeah, that's very intimidating. I'm glad this guy's like, hey, what are you doing? Put your guns away. Like, what? No.
Damn it! Swing them!
And that was important because New Orleans and the people of New Orleans had been slandered that entire week.
Hey, weapons down!
I think what was most significant and important about him was that he cared about the people.
Yeah. I kind of got an idea of how
The
it
general's
was working,
first
like how it was
priority
going.
is the large-scale evacuation of survivors who are given refuge in nearby cities.
Yeah, they took us to Texas. I had a good time.
We were refugees, right? I never saw myself like that, but after Katrina, we became this kind of story. We totally were known as the Katrina people.
I made friends with National Guard guys. They came up to the boat when I was still sitting on a boat that 6 days I stood there. And they said, well, you know, it's not safe. I said, it's safe enough. I said, I got 2 rusty guns that I survived, you know, and I think I'm in good shape, you know. I said, don't worry about me. Go try to find somebody else, you know. You could, you know, safely say that we on our way to recovery.
That'll work. Yeah.
13 days after Katrina strikes, George Bush finally touches down in New Orleans. And he's keen to show the world he cares. In tow is FEMA's director, Michael Brown, and the president angers many when he congratulates the man in overall charge of the government response.
Again, I want to thank you all for, and Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job. The FEMA director's working 24.
I'll never forget, heck of a job, Brownie, when the, you know, FEMA director really was not doing a whole lot.
Of course not.
Should have been doing a whole lot more.
In the following months, 1,577 people are declared dead in the state of Louisiana, most from New Orleans. As survivors return, they are faced with the challenge of rebuilding their homes.
First impression is
trying to
really the
demolish
smell.
everything's
When
crazy.
you would get out of the car, there was just this musty, moldy, old, ancient smell. There was no life. There were no bugs. There were no birds. And it was very, very eerie. Just, it felt like a wasteland, like the apocalypse.
You know, my wife was okay. My daughter was okay. Still
His
had
wife
my
survived.
mom.
I'm
Still
surprised.
had the dog. You know, you just gotta drive on and just look forward. I built my house, you know, stronger than what I had before.
But not everyone is able to return. Some of the damage to the poorer neighborhoods is irreparable.
And so Baltimore became a new home and the beginning of us putting our heads together on how to start over.
I remember going back to the first Mardi Gras after Katrina had struck. And everyone was really, really conscious that it felt much whiter than it had before Katrina, merely because the black population of New Orleans had not yet been rebuilt. And of course, it was largely the black population that had been so devastated by Katrina because they lived generally in the less well-off areas that lay below sea level. When the levees broke, those parts of the city were completely submerged.
I know, like, if the house is standing, they have, like, the spray paint, like, the circles on there. I forgot. There's, like, 4 spots. It's like an X in the middle. And I think they had a spot for, like, household, and you pass in the household, like, pets or something. I forgot what the thing is, but they had the numbers had meanings about who was at this residence and everything. All right, I think there's only like a couple minutes left of this, so I'm gonna go ahead and just finish it real fast. Fried chicken vanilla. What?
So amongst all the doom and gloom, one can wonder, what's the future of New Orleans? You know, I love this city.
Today, New Orleans has a $14 billion levee system to protect the city if another Katrina hits in the near future.
Yeah, I would hope you would make these levees stronger.
Pushing the government to think even further ahead.
Earlier this year, the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration came out with their predictions of sea level rise across the United States in the future. And in Louisiana, by 2050, sea level is going to rise at least 2 feet. And by 2100, it's going to rise 4 feet. Now just imagine you got the storm surge that hit Katrina in 2005. All the levees around New Orleans are basically too low for 2100 standards.
Dang. Gone.
The plain fact is this: much of New Orleans lies below sea level, but it is life and home to one of the most vibrant cities in America. We can't just write it off.
We're going to have a bad storm again. We're going to have flooding again. To have infrastructure being taken care of, to not go through the same things over and over again.
Really just been
This
20
city
years
deserves
just about.
more.
Oh. I know there's a lot of stuff that happened in the background. Hello everyone, I'm Spit with Spit 6 News. We just received some breaking news that can change our lives. We have Spit on the scene right now, live, with someone who has vital details about this. Isn't that right, Spit? You are correct, Spit. I am standing here with Spit, who wants to share some amazing details with us. So, Spit, what would you like to tell the world? I just wanted to let everyone know about this amazing product called Gamer Subs. I got the dreadful tired and needed a boost, and Gamer Subs got me back up and moving. They also provide hydration and relaxation versions too. That sounds amazing. Any secrets we need to know about? Yes, use code SPIT at checkout to save 10% on your purchase. Well, you heard it here. If you need energy, hydration, or relaxation, Gamer Subs has you covered. Thank you for watching. I'm Spit with Spit 6 News. Have a wonderful day with some Gamer Subs.